Okay, should be back live. Hi, I have returned from RLC. The heck of a week. Busy. Not as easy as a conference to work as I thought it was going to be. Um, but it was good. Particularly with the award. Puffer won a Best Paper Award for resourcefulness and reinforcement learning. I just posted it 5 minutes ago here. And the full talk is now available on X, as well as I can get rid of the horrible default uh, recommendations right here. You can watch it on YouTube, you can watch it on X. Quite nice. That. And hopefully, with that, we should get another little spike in growth as people come see the library. I'm going to keep that trend going. Star the Puffer. Alright, so we have some fun stuff to do today. So I have a lot of research ideas following the conference, and we're going to just start implementing them. Congrats on the award. Did you do anything special to your stream post today to have it send mobile notifications? No, I did not. I didn't do anything. There's not even anything that you can do on that for X. Like, that's just not a thing. It's just if you follow, then it will sometimes show up either in your feed or on the right side of your Twitter account. I'm gonna try, since I just got back from RLC, I want to try a bunch of kind of crazy stuff on the research side. I'm going to talk a little bit about, where's that? Buffer max 1. Not it. We're going to try it on the remote machine. Are my machines down? Or am I just on the wrong terminal? Hang on, something is off. Let me figure out why this is not working. My machines are down on Tailscale or not. Why the hell are all of my machines down? Okay, nobody told me about that. I have to go take a quick call. I think. Yeah, I gotta go take a quick call. I have no idea why the hell all of my machines are down. But I will go do that, and then we will be right back. Lovely. Oh, man. Guys that I have there aren't even there to reboot the machine, so I'm going to have to work on this locally for a bit, and then in a couple hours they should bring them back online. Hello, FBRR. I've seen you in the Discord. Thank you very much. And hey, James. It was good. Got the award and everything. Talked to a bunch of people. Have some research to do. We're gonna have to steer a little bit, though. I guess I'll just have to implement on my local. Hey, that's Tosin. How's it going, man? It was good. Buffer's doing well. I have a bunch of research to do. I gotta take a look at the robocode stuff if you've done anything there, because if actually that'd be a really good environment to have merged in. But yeah, so the slightly annoying thing about this is I literally don't even have my editor set up on my local. Actually, I do. I have this set up. It's just not recognizing my config, I guess. Let me fix this real quick just so I have something to do for the next couple hours. Like, I can actually functionally write some stuff. I should just be able to grab this from here, and then we should be able to get started. Thank you very much, Finn. I owe you some drones, I think. Did you send me? I'm sorry, I've missed a bunch of messages because I've just got back from conference and crashed for a day or so over the weekend. Did you send me like a new ready-to-order drone thing or not yet? Because I'm very happy to just quickly send you a drone if I can. Get you started on that. I didn't realize the polling rate for telemetrics would be 1 per second or whatever. That's insane. That's like absolutely insane. So I got a whole bunch of research to start on, but if you have a parts list or something that I can just real quick order you, I'd be happy to do that. Oh. What the heck? I don't know what the heck happened here. We're going to give the current setup a bit longer. Maybe we can hack it. If you need a drone, I will absolutely just order you one. It's just you're going to have to find something durable enough that it's not going to break into a million pieces if you crash it instantly. So if you find a bigger drone that's like several $100 or whatever, that's fine. I'll just send it to you. I'd very much like to get this thing working. Because pretty much it's just for reference here, right? As soon as you have a cool demo of a drone, that's going to let me start looking for contracts. And obviously, you know, if we get any sort of contract with a drone company, I'll be able to pull you both in paid on that. I'd love to have you guys be able to like get some return out of this, work on some really cool stuff, right, and see it get into use quickly. Yeah, somehow this is like the wrong noxious. You know, it's probably because it's Ubuntu 20 and it's like super dated or whatever. Even better. Not really at all, right? Yeah, this dev environment sucks. I'm trying to think what I can do real quick to like fix this or like get something workable, and it's just this is why I wanted to have my other um I can kind of just start working on it, but this is going to be very painful with the amount of code that I have to actually edit to not have like my like even my super basic dev environment and just be in whatever the hell this is. There's not an easy way around it though. I guess I'll just have to deal with it for now, which sucks. At some point I'm going to have to get like either a new machine or reinstall this machine or whatever. But we'll deal with this for now. Okay, so here's the actual plan. Let me tell you guys a little bit about what I want to work on here. If I just can get myself a couple terms open. So I got a lot of ideas from RLC about stuff that is relatively promising. Some of these are ideas for environments. So I have some cool ideas for a very simple test suite of environments that's going to let us do a lot of qualitatively new research. It should not take me too long. It's just the details are very important. Based on B Suite will be an extension to that. Well, native new environments in Puffer, of course. But the other thing I want to work on is sort of imitation learning. Imitation learning with purely online data. So, or not purely online data, but no expert data, let's say. So pretty much you have to collect all your own data, but you don't do RL at all. You do imitation learning. And I want to see what that does. Because in my mind, at least, I'm really not too tied to the algorithms that we use in RL at all. Like, the important thing about RL to me is the collection of new data, the interaction. And if the algorithms change completely and still have that property that works well, that is totally fine by me. And one of the reasons I want to do this is because basically, this is the only thing that actually seems like it consistently works is imitation learning. Um, Offline RL, without like expert data, off policy. I talked to a bunch of people, and like it seems like a lot of even the algorithms that are not super fancy that have presented as like, oh yeah, this just works, they really don't work. A lot of the sort of DeepMind era off pol stuff is kind of just like it's not like they have a magic thing that's just way better than anything that we have essentially. I was kind of under the impression that there actually was something to all this sample efficient RL, and it seems like at least pure off-pol stuff doesn't quite work. So we're going to try this other new thing. Okay. And actually, I'm going to do so I get the just so I get some crazy syntax highlights. Maximum eye pain. All right. Drag this over. Just need this one file. This can be puffer train puffer cart pull. Um. 2 minutes to train cart pull is horrendous. Why did you switch back to Windows from Ubuntu? I didn't switch. This is This is like a random desktop in Palo Alto that I just happen to have. Yeah, I hate this setup, believe me. I would like to be on a native Linux machine, but I don't want to take the time to go, like, figure out what data I have on this and reinstall it. I'm probably just going to get a new desktop here at some point. Yeah, believe me, this is awful for devs. You're way better off on native Linux. Alright, I'm trying to think what the best way is to get this started. We need a gold set. Can I just, like, add this? What if I just add this here? You only need observation and action, right? We're going to do behavioral cloning. I believe that should be all we need. So, gold obs. Okay, so now we have gold observations, gold actions. I'll leave it as the same size, I suppose. And oh, we need rewards as well, don't we? We need the gold rewards. Because otherwise we can't tell when to resample, right? I think we just need this, though. We're not even going to need advantage estimation or anything, crazy as that is. So eval will literally be identical. And then when we get to the start of train, this will be like still. So I don't like how this didn't full solve. We'll do Pong instead. Segments, horizon. So you sum this way, right? And how do we merge these cleanly? Way to go with the reward. Thank you, Convert. I just put the full talk online. So if anybody wants to watch this talk later, it's on X and it's also on YouTube. So there you are. And hopefully you'll forgive the small advertisement. We do have a business as well. Announcements incoming. Project you were getting. Any new? No, there are. Well, there are a few other things potentially. There are a few things in the works. There's definitely research side stuff to look at. So there's this imitation learning thing. There are new environments to look at, and there are a few new areas we've been building stuff out in that aren't yet public. Quick off topic, I want to build a 1v1 turn-based game, Act 4 that does self-play. Target turn-based, like to call agents when turn-based you check out. You could modify our connect for env to make it work that way pretty easily. Yeah, so the one really obnoxious thing with turn-based envs, and it's just pure infrastructure, I haven't found a great way to do this without messing everything else up yet, is you just make a multi-agent environment where you ignore the actions every other time step or whatever for each agent, and that slightly messes with advantage estimation. It's really not amazing, but and it's also like a 50x slowdown in effective data. But that's probably the best thing to do for now, and at least for Connect 4, that should be good enough. That's what I would just do for now. Like, self-play is really obnoxious with LSTMs, especially, to do fully correctly, in turn-based games specifically. I actually do want to do a bunch of, like, self-play RL research soon. I would start with stuff that isn't turn-based, right? And then it's just we just have to figure out the little bit of infra change for turn based to make it make more sense. Okay, so how do I do this here? I want to do the sort both of these. Can I do like stacked? And then where's torch arg sort? Best X. All right, so we do like this. Now we have the indices. Then this will be n equals self rewards shape. Now, how do I index? What's the best way to do this operation? I have the indices. I want to merge them together. Because I can't stack the entire buffer is the annoying thing, right? I guess I could as an initial thing. That's so stupid to do it that way, though, isn't it? What if I just do it this way for now? Just to see if I can get anything, right? Before I try to make the super optimized implementation. Yeah. We'll just do it the stupid way for now, right? We'll just do all rewards. Guess I'm refreshed or something. I usually can't type this fast. That's kind of funny. Alright, so now we have our rewards tensor. We've got this. Got our best indices, observations, actions, gold, rewards. This, yeah? Now we have our total action set. I probably want to change a whole bunch of this, don't I? Like a whole bunch of this, right? Because we're only training on gold data. Well, not entirely clear to me, to be honest, because, like, it might be that you also want to do your RL step. Why don't we just keep both? We'll keep both. And we'll add this, like, additional... We'll add this additional thingy, I'd say. But actually, we should do this one first, right? Yeah, you know, this is what we should do is... Actually, I see. So we're gonna put this... We're gonna put this up here. So this is the original loop, right? Alright, now you've done your entire loop. Okay, so now you're gonna resample and fill the gold. You do not care about advantages. I'm gonna do uniform sampling for now. And int. Self.segments. And then the shape is gonna be config bpt horizon. All right, so we have right here, we have a random indices for this. Now we get observations, actions, don't need anything else at all. The kind of crazy thing about this is how simple this is. All right, now we get observations. LSTM state's going to have the exact same annoyance as before, but whatever, we just deal with it. And then you get logits, value. That is the policy, and you do not need to even sample the logits at all, right? Simply take cross entropy. How roughly does this work? I'm trying to just set up imitation learning. So the idea is that it's online imitation learning. So the idea is that this thing is just going to gather a bunch of data, sort it so that you have the best episodes collected or the best segments collected, imitation learn that, and then bootstrap where hopefully you eventually get luckier segments, and then you imitation learn those lucky segments, and it bootstraps forever without even needing rewards. Well, without training on rewards. You need the rewards, of course. I don't know. I had this idea. I have no idea if it's been done or like if it's been done competently, which are two very different things. So I figured I would just try it. Input target. Input logits. And the target is going to be something like this, yeah? Yeah, where'd entropy come from? We do something like this, yeah? Welcome something. Thank you very much. I just put the talk up on X right here. It's also on YouTube. I'm working on implementing a weird online imitation learning hybrid as an experiment in PufferLib right now. That out? Yep. It's not the recorded talk from RLC. It is a clean recording of the talk from, well, of the exact same talk, pretty much, from home. People like the talk. And I recorded it before I left, but then I left it unposted until just now. Fully recursive learning from its own learned data. Pretty much. There's no way that this just worked first try, so I'm assuming that this is not actually running the code that I think it is. Exactly. Pretty good, though, that I got all the way down to here before I broke something. Stack argument tensor. Yeah, because, like, the thing is, my gripe with all the imitation learning work is like, oh, as an alternative to RL. It's not an alternative to RL if you rely on expert data. It's not how it works. Can't even get expert data in a whole bunch of domains. But if you can use the same formulation and you can do it with fully online data, with of course being very easy to mix in expert data if you have it, that is very valid. I have no idea if it works. Is I mean, that's kind of the idea, right? It's so funny to me, like how I'm writing this code, which would be considered perfectly normal code anywhere other than PufferLib, and it's like paining me how slow I know this is going to be compared to Puffer standards, just with like the redundant copies and things. Kind of funny. All right, what's random? Okay. Ah, so this gets uh Try this. Come on, what's wrong with you? 0D. Yay, there we go. Alright, so that's your imitation loss. Is the build still sad? What build, that guy? Title of the stream? God damn it, did I forget to? I totally forgot to do that. Alright, here. Full online. There. Is this good? Yep. Alright. It doesn't, you can't update X titles, but whatever. This is why I never switch the title. Everyone always asks me, like, oh, can you title the stream what it's gonna be? No, because I always do this, and then I forget for the next 4 days like a total goober. That should be back up. Actually, wait, why the chat hasn't even been here the whole time? Literally nobody bothered to mention to me that I had this thing hidden up here, really? Alright, whatever. We'll be streaming tomorrow, should be. Well, now I have, at least I have the chat back here. We'll put the puffer here, we'll put the chat up here. Can go here for now. Actually, does he fit here? Yeah, he does. Puffer, stay there. Thought it was by design today? Nope. Here's the chat. Yeah, you guys have to tell me when I screw random stuff up, alright? I was just thinking about all, like, oh, this cool research idea, and I didn't check any of this stuff. This is like, I had a great lecturer in college who said, actually, you know, if I make a mistake, I'm an old guy. I'm supposed to make mistakes or whatever. If you guys don't catch the mistake and just silently nod along, it reflects badly on all of you. See that guy? Okay. So this at least runs. Of course, I need a good machine to actually run it on. At least out of the box doesn't do anything. Can we figure out why that is? If you could go back, would you get a PhD again? Ooh. Trying to think if I could have built this stuff without it. You know, I honestly think that we're gonna have to wait a couple years to see the answer to that question with PufferLib. I think we're gonna have to wait a couple years. You definitely don't want to ask somebody like right after they finished their PhD in the first year or two. The longer term thing. I think the answer is I'd probably be happier but accomplish less without it. So take that for what you will. Okay, I see. So you're just imitating garbage here, it seems. Does it really never get a reward? Asking since you have to apply, not sure to focus on top university, go to any. I definitely wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't just like do a PhD for the sake of doing a PhD at a random university unless you're dead set on doing that. Wouldn't trust you without the PhD because I only care about credentials. That's funny. There are actually people who think that way, is the thing. Like, it actually does make a lot of the business side stuff a lot easier. I don't have to waste time establishing credibility. This is just not getting copied over or something weird, right? Something is weird if it's just not getting any reward ever, right? Okay. I suppose it is actually kind of tough without the value function. If you don't have a value function of some sort, right? Like, there are environments where you just get a -1 for dying. So that's going to have you training on, like, random data. Actually, how does Cartpole, work on rewards? Like, this is very slowly going up, I suppose. Very easy task, though. I was thinking something like Breakout would be way better, because that has, like, a very consistent reward structure. Well, we definitely need to get this thing to train way faster so we can play with it, right? Yeah, so the reward in that buffer goes up a little bit, but this just doesn't work out of the box at all. Let me think about why this is be happening here. We probably should have a way to, like, dump a data set from a good policy as a reference, right? Like, if you have good data, then how well can you learn a policy from that, right? That's pretty straightforward to come up with a way to do that. You know, I'm actually a little surprised, because I would actually expect this to work a little better out of the box. No, hold on, I want to think about this a little bit. Is there any way to incorporate a value function estimate with this? Like, not really, right? Because that's going to move around. That's the whole on policyness problem. So, like, how do you judge? Ultimately, you just judge that a trajectory with the highest reward is better, right? That's all you do. What the heck is wrong with... Wait, why is the imitation, loss, and the entropy identical? Oh, hang on. Something's screwy here, right? How does that make any bloody sense? Does that make any sense? Doesn't, no, because it should be... Well, I guess they could potentially start the same. I'm optimizing entropy. That's a problem. That's obviously not going to work. Oh. Okay. Wait, entropy definitely should not be the same as this, right? Because entropy should not take into account the action. Yeah, see, this is logits times probs. There doesn't take into account action, so how do we get the same number? That's super weird, no? Like a reasonable thing, no? Oh, see it. Not even optimizing the right thing remotely. Well, that will do it. I wish I had my box back so I could test this faster. So now they're similar but not identical. Go looking for more problems. I didn't realize that was a terrible mistake. Observation. Actions. Okay, well that's an immediate improvement, right? So obviously we want to run this thing way faster. But that actually is at least doing something, no? Yeah. Okay. Way better. Now as for how well we can make something like this do overall, I don't know yet. We'd like to see this get above like the 6 or 7 range, which is kind of mucking about. If that can do this, then it's actually potentially feasible. But yeah, that's actually kind of cool. So the idea of this thing, right, is very, very simple. It kind of draws on some ideas that have worked in LLMs as well, sort of, though I guess it'd be weird to credit it to that because it goes way older than that. But it's just generating a whole bunch of data and then imitation learning against the best data in there that you happen to get. Technically, you could also do like a step of online RL for pretty much free. Well, maybe not. Hmm. You could definitely mix in online RL with this if you wanted to, though. We could try that. In fact, I might even want to implement it that way. If this does like anything meaningful, like what I'd basically want to do with this is see, can we use this to increase sample efficiency? On its own without the RL, I don't know. If it happened to work better without the RL, that would be insane because that would be like a revolutionary discovery. I highly doubt we get that. I could be wrong, but I highly doubt we get that. Time is it 6:19? So apparently, in about less than an hour, I should get my box back, and we can just play around with some stuff in the meantime. To play around with the hybrid RL thing. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we can play with before we have it fully ready to go. Be right back. Let me use the restroom and grab a drink. This is at least a reasonable enough initial result. Right back. Okay. So, the more I think about this, the more this makes sense. And actually, that's better than randomly running around. Yeah. So how could this possibly not work, guys? Welcome, Bet. What if we just do online RL? We do our exact normal online RL. And we just add this imitation objective over the best data that we've collected. Completely get around off policy being a thing, right? Now, I suppose that this result that we're looking at here is not amazing on its own, right? We'll see what score it gets to. At least get, like, a few points higher would be good. This is on CPU, Bet. I want to work on something with soft, rigid physics. Something more sim-based. Any recommendations or ideas? Rigid physics, depending on complexity, we have, our own, we just implement our own stuff for drones. Finn and Sam did that. That could be done and extended to 6 Degree of Freedom arms at like an intermediate skill level project. Intermediate implementation skill. The math is a little tricky. Soft body, I don't know about the algorithms. You might actually need an engine for that. I'd go look into some of those other projects though, like people have written their own soft body physics engines. And I'd go look around to see like what is the minimum complexity thing you need in order to make something like that work. Okay, so this is above random perf here, for sure. This is definitely above random perf. So let's say that over the next hour-ish, while I'm waiting for my boxes to come back online so I can train at a respectable speed, let's say I get this thing to run with hybrid online RL imitation learning, right? You do the RL step so that it's on policy, roughly. And then you do as many imitation learning steps as you want. You have the buffer size for your goal data be configurable. And then you try to improve the sample efficiency of your online RL using the imitation learning. Not all the boxes are screwed, or most of the boxes are screwed, Bet. I have somebody that's going to come boot them in like an hour. Nobody told me that they were screwed, or at least nobody told me loud enough with how fast the Discord moves while I was at the conference, so I didn't know to have them rebooted. They weren't? Looks like they went down on August 4th to me. At least from, it looks like they've been down for like several days. Yeah, some of them have auto reboot, some of them don't. We're gonna have to go through and reclaim a bunch of boxes because I don't think everyone's using them. Yeah, okay, 8.6. This actually, it's kind of funny that this just works. Literally the first thing I implement works. It doesn't work great, but it does work better than noise. The monkey ball env, I did rigid body, 108 bytes. What do you mean it's 108 bytes? I've done a 6 degree of freedom arm, but kinematics go way over my head, so it was super low. How did you do a 6 degree of freedom arm without doing kinematics? Math gets a little hairy, you know? What is online RL getting us that this isn't getting us, is my question. Wait, like, actually... Well, you do get the value function, right? Optimal. Oh. Well, you need to do both, you need to do both forward kinematics and dynamics in order to get, like, a basic reacher working. It's gonna be, like, a fair bit of math. That would actually be a very valuable task, to the extent that the first person that comes and PRs me, like, an actually good 6 degree of freedom arm at the level of the drone env, like, that's actually probably one of the more promising ways to get into contracts with us. Obviously, there's more to it than that. You'd actually have to help us find some partnerships with robot companies, but that's probably one of the easier ones to do. Math is a little hairy, though. It would probably take me, like, several days to figure out. I'm trying to conceptualize here in my head. Let me finish chess real. Yeah. I'm trying to think. The difference between these approaches, right? Eh. Yeah, you'll be waiting a while on that convert. There's an advantage to doing this, isn't there? It's slightly obnoxious, I guess, from a compute perspective, because what you would like to do, right, is you'd like to add the imitation loss just to the RL loop, but you can't do that, because if you do it that way, you make it more off policy, which is bad. You want to keep it as on policy as possible during the RL loop, and then you want to take it off policy with the imitation loop. Oh, wait, does this still screw it up or no? This probably still screws up the value function, doesn't it? Possibly does still screw up the value function. That is a positive result, though, from like an early experiment. There are a lot of different ways we could set this thing up, potentially. I'm trying to RL a chess puzzle. It shouldn't, because you should be passing a done signal bet. But you can technically, yes. You can technically mess stuff up depending on how you do it. But yes, you have to be careful. Well, because it's like, I don't know how you have it bet. Is it like ignoring an action? Because it has to be able to see, it has to be like, observe the board state, right? And then it makes its action, and then it observes the next state of the board, and then there has to be a done after that. You basically, there's a thing where if you reset it, right, you can drop either the first observation of the next episode or the last observation of this episode. You have to be careful not to do either of those in this case, I believe. Okay, so this immediately performs better. And we can compare this, I believe, to the... We can compare this one to the other ones. I definitely need my computer back to be able to run these experiments. So let's just like clean this up and make this reasonable, I think, in the meantime. Twice. There's gonna have to be one extra observation before reset where the action doesn't do anything, basically. This is stuff you would have figured out by now if you've been doing your formal RL readings in parallel to the implementation. Yeah? You did? Alright, do your homework. Hello, Shravan. Welcome. There's very much how RL works. Yes. Yes, it does, Ben. Don't you forget it. Lazy because Puffer just works. Yeah. It could potentially be working much better soon. Did you get it working, Spencer? Hey, look at that. We've got Spencer doing real research now. I'm actually have a decent shot at solving sample efficiency. Or at least, like, majorly improving sample efficiency with what I'm doing now. Thing. Do you need boxes for experiments, Spencer? Because obviously, this is gonna have to be swept on a ton of stuff. Yeah, go for it. I think the tiny ones are still up. Um, we have a few of the individual boxes down right now, and they should be back up in less than an hour. Yeah, so this is experimental. Spencer's doing discrete value functions. Yeah, Spencer, so this thing I'm working on is pretty cool. So what this is going to do is this is going to keep the RL objective. So HL Gaussian, anything that you do, that'll stay. And it'll stay like our one epoch of RL like we normally do. But then it's going to let you add in however much imitation learning you want on the best data that you've seen so far. So this should allow you to keep like high value data around. Yeah, this should like let you keep high value data around and essentially build yourself a data set. Already applying ideas? Yeah. Um, if I get this to work, this would be like Puffer 4 material. And this could, well, it would have to work very well, but I think algorithmically, this is the type of thing that could definitely, like, unlock new applications and be Puffer 4 just straight up. Like, Puffer 4 could literally just end up being a 500 line change to, like a 400 line change to PufferL. I have to do it while they're fresh in my head, though, you know? So I sent, I ran the dish this morning, I did some weights, and, I answered all the emails, all the conversations, so that's still on track, don't worry. Then I'm starting to do some of this stuff. I owe Kathy Wu's group some work, I owe clients some work, but I have to at least carve out a little bit of time to do this type of stuff, yeah? Are you running stuff on one of them? No, not at the moment. And I don't need either of them for a bit. So you can just go ahead and use both. The only thing that I will need is I'm gonna need Puffer Max 1, which is like the single 5090 box when it comes back up, because I'm gonna set that up for imitation learning experiments over the next couple days. The point of it, Bet, is to use extra compute. Best param from start so that it's quick. Start with running best breakout params on a few others and compare, like just get the two curves, like with HL Gauss and then like with whatever I had in there for the breakout sweeps before on like a few other ends, like Pong, Enduro, whatever else. And then you're going to have to rerun an HL Gauss sweep on some of the more complex ends. Mazes might be a little tricky because that one's hard to tune for. If you get better at mazes, that's really good. Obviously, we're going to want to do some of the more complex ones. We're going to try MOBA. Tuning on Neural MMO is hard, but if we can tune and get something on Neural MMO, that would be really good. Great job at RLC. Thank you. Conferences are exhausting. They really are. I basically crashed. I got home and I was like, all right, I got 36 hours of not doing RL work. Now I'm back. That was kind of the whole conference, that it was rough. I'm pretty much good now. Like 95%. The game idea. Mechanics, yeah, you can do that. I'm gonna work on like research side stuff for a little bit with this. Just because I think there's a good chance that this works. I also have the B Suite thing, which is I think also a good idea. There's Jason. What? Some factors. That was apply to the previous or what? Total mini batches. Got total IL mini batches. Then we have IL mini batch size. Right? Kind of it. And need two different no, you don't need two optimizers, right? Wait, do you need two different optimizers if you do two different objectives like this? I guess we'll try it like this first and we'll see. Yeah, we'll just try it like this first and we'll see, I guess. Little mini batches. PufferLib is no. Oh, yeah, you can't have these be different, can you? Damn. Forgot about that. Not easily, at least, right? It kind of sucks. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? Good way around this, or not really? Really kind of isn't. You'd have to make average reward work in order for this to make any sense. Decent. See if this actually runs an epoch. I think that this, yeah, this gives us our initial starting point, right? Idea here, have larger batches. Do quite a bit. We do need to go to self-IL section. Yeah, this is never going to prune anything off of this, which is good. So we can definitely optimize this, but this is like, this should be a decent starting point, I would assume. Things that can go wrong here, right? You haven't trained the value function. You haven't trained the value function, right? So I think that what you want to do is you want to compute the value function. See what we would need to do that. New value. So you need the returns, yeah? And to compute the returns, advantages plus value. Uniformly sampled for now. Wonder if we want to do the same sampling thing. We could pretty easily do that same sampling thing now. Thing like this. Put on the mini batch for now. You keep around. Wait, you don't need a clipped value function anymore, do we? You might need it. I guess all this stuff I'm thinking about should be more empirically motivated. Why I need my my fast box back so I can play with this. Messages, gotten it back. No messages. Box. Okay. Well, I can at least put it into place, the code, and we can ablate it. And I won't have to implement it after. Just do... Yeah, you need, like, all the frickin' things, don't you? Going. Ratio advantage. words. If we're able to get this advantage in, then we'll be able to prevent the advantage function from going stale. That's the idea. Because if you take the policy too far off value, I mean, if you take it too far off of the policy, it'll collect data correctly, but like the value function will just be undertrained. So the hope here is if you keep the value function fresh, then you'll still be able to make full use of your on-policy data with the better policy trained via IL. That's the core idea here. Do this. Now, I do need to go find this ratio. Ratio and self-advantage. This should be okay, so this is your advantage, right? Then you get MB returns. You get MB values here. And where is the value? Go. We put here like this. Online imitation learning like data aggregation. I was looking around for references and I kind of let's see if this matches. So you're collecting data online, you're filtering it for the best data, and then you do imitation learning on that instead of having any sort of expert data that you're starting off with. It's fully bootstrapped. At least that is the goal. Now, it's easy to combine this with online RL. And in that case, then what this would potentially do is it would just let you use less data for the same result. It's a sample efficiency hack. Lots of things we can potentially do with this. Is it without reward info? The imitation learning part only uses the reward information in order to decide what data to keep, right? So you need something that decides what data you actually want to train on. You're not actually using reward to optimize, but you're using reward to select your data. Imitation learning without reward only works if you have an expert data set, which is not what we want to do. Filtered behavioral cloning. Yes, except that, like, when you talk about these methods, right, you're almost always talking about using expert data, and we're not. Right? You can filter expert data for the best expert data, but there's no expert at all here. And that's kind of the cool thing. Still not offline RL. Offline RL is also different, and it has its own set of problems. Offline RL is also still typically used with expert data, right? Expert data that includes reward annotations. This is not really either of those. I don't know if people have done this before. It seems like something that you would probably expect to have been done because it's pretty simple, but I couldn't find any references. Not always. I mean, if you have examples of offline RL being done with data collected fully from scratch, let me know. The random behaviors. That's also not this, though. Because if you do it with completely random behaviors, that will only work if your environment is trivial. The thing is that you're actively collecting new online data. Pretty much any environment for which you can train it with purely random data is just a trivial problem, as a general rule. I mean, you can construct, like, degenerate counterexamples, but for the most part in practice, that is true. Sounds pretty niche. Well, it's niche in the sense that I haven't seen research on it before, but it's not niche in the sense that if this works, it will be, like, it will massively, massively improve the entire space as a whole immediately. Online data is generated by the agent. Yes, the online data is generated by a new tabula rasa agent initialized from scratch that learns over time. Yeah, Bet is right, though. Like, we do kind of crazy things around here. And, like, we do crazy things in a way that, like, even if they've been tried before, the way that I'm doing them here is much more likely to work. Alright, Bet. Alright, so now we have advantages, yeah? Well, that's, yes, that is obviously true. Uh, this work? Okay, so I think that this is good, and we can now try this with um a few different combinations of settings. And we can see whether this can be made to work better with the IL and the loop than not. Now, the problem is, of course, that I need my box back. My box back, yeah. And let me go check if it's back up on tail scale. Nah, they haven't gotten home to reboot it yet. Annoying. Could go steal box 0 for a bit. I might go do that. Yeah, Spencer. I'll try 7 if I can't get 0 working. I use the restroom real quick though, and then I mean there's no point in running a 30-minute experiment that should take 1 minute. I'll be right back. So Spencer says he's not using box 0 for a little bit. Try that. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna commit this. That's not bad. 133 lines. Okay. Much better, right? Get reasonable speeds. Nan's losses. We're going to comment this whole loop out next for a baseline. Okay, so this does worse. Does worse at the moment. The normal training perf. Okay, so we do have stable training on the original. Right? Funny, it's a lot slower on a 4090 than it is on the 5090, but that is stable training. Stable task solve. 90 million steps. Pretty much solved. That's the baseline to beat. What happens if I just train the value loss a bit? Does this crash it? Yeah, this NAND's out. Well, it's possible I just have this thing defined wrong, right? Still NAND's out. It was actually doing pretty well before it NAND out. I think what we do with this, right? No, not that. This doesn't NAND out, it just doesn't do as well, right? At least this is not completely crashing our learning here. It's worse by a lot. It's not completely crashing it, though. The only thing I can think about this is the stale value function, right? And, like, somehow... Do I just have the value function calculation wrong? Is that all it is? I can't see what else it could be. But this seems fine. I guess the other thing is it's not clamped. Right? The value function is not clamped. Clamped to avoid getting too far off the frickin' policy, isn't it? You just clamp it anyways. I can technically do it, no? What if I just do it for the hell of it? Okay, this is the same clipped value loss now from before. Still nans out. Isn't there this other thing? This is definitely broken, right? Well, hang on. It's still... Well, I was about to say it's stable, but it's clearly not. Maybe you need to do plus... It's to be trained jointly. Hands out at 200, eh? Damn. Can we not do the entire thing? And ends out at 200 again. It's awkward. Boards, values, terminals. Is there any fundamental reason this should be unstable? I don't think that there is. Right, there's no fundamental thing that jumps out at me as to why this should be unstable. Particularly with a clipped loss like this. Was there any warning, or did it just, like, all of a sudden explode? Value loss is very low. Imitation loss is low. Oh, imitation went to Nan, then everything else went to Nan. Imitation loss. How did imitation loss go to? Does that even make any sense? Could be like the easiest, most stable loss ever, no? The straight up behavioral cloning loss. It is a cross entropy loss. So imitation loss goes to Nan. Because logic is Nan. Policy weights must be screwed up, right? Yeah, also Nan. How did we Nan out the policy, though? I know it's not fancy cross entropy. It's literally cross entropy. That Just scaled badly. I don't think it is just scaled badly though, right? The value loss being screwy. Still Nan's out. Crazy. It's training like okay, I'd say, bet. It's not like noticeably. I don't think it's any better than the baseline yet. This does seem like the type of thing that has to work, though. Yeah, but like, the goal is okay, can we solve breakout in fewer steps by spending more compute? Weird to me that we can't the value function not want to train. I'm almost positive that it's the value function, right? Like this thing not wanting to train here. Yeah. Do we get nan? We do this. By this IL only thing. That's better, right? That's no RL. Yeah, there's no RL here at all, bet. Station puffer. Okay, I mean, this is like up to 26 score. Hey, Finn. Welcome. Very cool. Well, it's not doing super well yet. It's doing better than random. So the question here, right? Hypothesis 1 is, can you completely replace RL with self-imitation? That seems kind of hard to do without a ton of compute, or even if you can do it at all. Option 2 is like, can you improve sample efficiency? This actually did worse. Should be able to do this and do better. Let's see. RL for material science? Yeah, we will be doing that as well. Why does that not show up in my dashboard? I see it on the screen. This doesn't seem to be doing massively better or anything. Could technically be overfit. Not doing better though, for sure. Wonder if this does worse. Oh, this does do work. Okay. Too big. Well, this will be super sample in it, right? Very fast. You care more about wall clock or steps? For your experiments, I would say I care more about wall clock. Though HL Gauss shouldn't make it any slower, really, so it should be similar, Spencer. Like, you should end up with very similar results in terms of wall clock. But, like, the experiment should take not really any longer to run. Okay. This is interesting. So, quite hard to get this thing to bootstrap. Yeah, like, I would think that doing a longer horizon would help. Shouldn't be that hard. Like, it is learning something, but it's not a great signal, right? Learning on segments. Well, wait, does this solves cart pull with no RL, right? That did just solve cart pull, did it not? I believe it did. Oh, hey. Wait, that almost solves Pong as well. Wait, that's almost Pong solved too. Like 200 bet. 195. It almost solves Pong. Yeah. So hang on, there is something to this. There's something about the structure of the M's though. Back from the conference, I see any cool new inspiration? Yeah, we're currently solving RL problems without RL, which is kind of crazy. Well, no, but it makes sense that this would work. What about a dense reward like Puffer Drone? The heck happened to Drone Swarm? Trajectories aren't even expert. That's the point. The full bootstrap problem. Let me go find another problem that we can do. Doesn't work on this. I rewatch what I've missed so far. I mean, I can give you the TLDR of it, right? So we're saving a buffer of data from the agent. The agent's initialized from scratch. We're saving a big buffer of data from it, but we're only saving the top end trajectory segments, like ever, from any time that we've run the agent. And then we're running imitation learning on those top segments. Basically, we're seeing if this thing can bootstrap from a totally random agent. Um, yeah. Worked on. What are some other M's I would expect like a weak learner to work on? I can try like target. Oh, that doesn't work because it's multi-discrete, right? I haven't added multi-discrete support yet. Rware's probably hard. Convert single discrete? Not. Tetris? Score's going down, not up. Racer, we can try that. Score doesn't get better in Tetris. Odd. Got like decent gold data. It doesn't work at all. Weird. I'd try snake as well. Snake is like a good simple multi-agent task. Doesn't look great. Kind of training. I mean, you can't say that's doing nothing, right? Like actually kind of decent. Especially for like a very first take on this. Score's not one normalized, so I actually don't know how high it's supposed to go. I think it was like 3 or 4 or something. I mean, that does actually do something, though. Tripled score from baseline. Are you sure? I thought that the baseline was like 3 or 4 score, no? We definitely have signs of life. Eval will show, yeah, I'm on a remote box. I have to like do something for that. Try snake. It's like somehow run out of better data. That could be an entropy fail, though, right? Let me try with entropy. Add the, where's entropy? Is this technique people use for robotics RL? No, this isn't it. Like, this is new. Um, it seems simple enough that somebody probably has done it, but if there is a reference, I don't know it. Okay, so Snake is not amazing here. I wonder if it's like stuck on the ability to have enough reward in one segment or something. Like the fact that it does cart pull instantly, right? And pretty much Pong. Nick is multi agent, yeah. Self imitation learning. Is it an actual established thing, Finn, where people like bootstrap imitation learning off of nothing? Like I've seen people do this for completely different reasons in like weird contexts, but I haven't seen this specific thing done. Wait, let me make sure I'm not making that up because there was a paper. Yeah, no, this is different. Very different. Okay, so this, the fact that it does something like this, it's like flashes of brilliance, right? Oh, okay. Um, Hang on, guys. We might have something. I had a suspicion. I'll explain this in a second if I'm right. Yeah, so this is what I thought. So this has the best early curve I've ever seen on Neural MMO3. Yeah. Yeah, guys, this is yeah, this is a real thing. No, it's not gonna solve it. Let me explain in a second. I will explain in a second why this is so important. Yeah, so this is pretty much the same algorithm as I came up with, I think. Let's see. No, well, this portion is the other thing that I tried pretty much. But this is without. I'm just doing this portion right now. There's also prioritized replay as a potential. So it is pretty close, I will say. It's like it is pretty close. Who the heck is this paper from? Some like random paper. Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing, guys. So what's hard with Neural MMO? The reward from random actions is incredibly sparse at the start. So like it's very, very difficult to get the reward a few times at the start. And if you're only getting a reward like a tiny, tiny fraction of the time, it's very difficult to latch onto that reward and learn. But what this does is this is actually going to save the trajectory segment that contains the reward and learn on just that. So, like, let's say you get 10 million samples and only get like 5 good rewards. Well, at least those 5 good rewards are in the batch of data that you're training on. So what I don't think that this algorithm as written is gonna like scale to solve the whole task or anything, but like this is qualitatively very, very different from just on policy RL. Yes, bet. So it solves the like the sparse exploration in some sense. This is not world model stuff. This is substantially more powerful along certain axes. Right, having a world model does not tell you how to get reward. You have to roll out like a whole bunch of different planning, and your planner is gonna suck at the start. So that actually doesn't fix it. I think it's pretty different from that bet, frankly. Make sure I'm not trolling here. I'm not. See, this is commented out fully. Why does this not work on like Breakout or Snake or stuff like this? A little bit more concerned about Snake, I think. So Breakout has long segments. be right back to think about this. So it's not just an entropy thing, right? I'm gonna set some crazy entropy just to be sure. Oh yeah, we're making sure that we're actually training on this, right? Yeah, we've got it. All right, who has hypotheses? This is working like ludicrously well on some environments for some portions and not so much on others. You're stuck imitating length 64 segments. You don't have like a value function bootstrap or something like that. Do inverse RL to optimize that reward. What would that do for you? Inverse RL is to like estimate a reward function when you don't have the data labeled. We do have the data labeled. Why would you do that? Okay, so I mean, we can confirm that setting the entropy coefficient super high destroys the training. This does confirm, though, at the very least, that there are problems where this idea of keeping around prior good data is very powerful. Solves Pong, solves cart pole. Crazy good on neural MMO in like seconds. Actually behaved kind of predictably because like I was pretty confident it would actually do that for neural MMO. That's why I ran that experiment. I didn't just do that randomly. I thought, oh, you know, that's an environment with super sparse words, so it makes sense. Then why does it just get stuck at a point? Well, Breakout doesn't have the same... Okay, there's like some degenerate cases with Snake, I think. But with Breakout. Snake is multi-agent. Perhaps 1/2. Alright, well, we'll try Breakout. Let's see if you can find a reason for Breakout, right? Breakout here. It does train. You only get like 24 score, though. I'd have to copy it to my local. There's no point. We're very confident in breakout as a task, right? We've used it extensively. It's a very small, like, change. We haven't changed the env at all. Could be. I'd have to copy it over. I think we have all the information that we need, though, Bet, from the design of the algorithm. You collect trajectory segments, you label them by reward. The gold reward is telling us the average reward of steps over that segment. It's still going up the whole time. What if breakout also rewards the random shortest path? Filter by all cases, the ball starts initially straight down. Reward over trains on that stuff. Yeah, so it would technically, the best thing for it to do, right, would be to select the segments where the ball's about to strike the paddle, and then the ball strikes the paddle, and then it hits another brick and bounces it back. It should be able to fit that in a 64 segment, I would think. But you're totally right that it could be something weird about the trajectory segment bounds. Oddly though, here this did not do better by training on more data, essentially overfitting. Let me think how we do this. If I do 256, right? We can change BPT horizon, but it's going to change the batch size and other things. It's very hard the way that this is set up to even include a value function of any type. Let's see if we can actually just get it to solve the task. By any sort of... Here. Something like it moves the corner well, but tries to stay alive in the corner. I actually know that it cannot be that because that gets you like 7 score. Super long run just to see if it's stably increasing. I mean, so far, it is like a clean, stable curve. I do want to see if it ever gets stuck. There also, we should keep in mind, Breakout is a slow start environment, right? Where, like, you have to get to a certain point before it starts learning more quickly. So this might not be a horrible, horrible failure, right? Like, if it just hasn't gotten to that point in the curve early on, it could very well be that once this thing gets to, like, 50 or whatever score, it just takes off like a rocket. It does seem to be stuck at low 30s score. If we look at the gold reward here, right? The gold reward is, like, not substantially getting better. It's still going a little bit, but, like, this is not good training speed. No. Hang on. This is also without retuning hypers. Fair. Possible those have shifted. Though most of the hypers that we would even normally tune no longer will exist with this. We're not getting the same, like, curve shape. We're not getting, like, the exponential takeoff here, which is interesting. That's probably the more concerning thing, is not seeing the thing, like, take off. Adaptive learning rate. No, that should just be, like... There are problems where at a certain point, right, you need to find a little bit of reward, and once you do, it's very easy to learn from there. You would think you'd get the same with the imitation case, right? Where, like, once you learn to hit the ball enough, you'll have better games than others, and you should get, like, a quick signal for how to learn. Think how to do this. Like, if we had expert data, this just works, right? We're gonna have to ultimately try that, I think, is gonna be the thing for tomorrow, because, like, I've done enough stuff on this to see that there is clearly some potential, and we're gonna need, like, expert data IL for comparison's sake. Like, we train a breakout agent, we dump a big data set, and we see how good by comparison we train on that. Like, what size data set do we need to train a good agent with IL if we're doing that, etc., etc. Will it just go all the way? Well, you got to keep in mind that we've been training breakout for nearly 1 billion steps now. So this is not great. Like, it has been stably improving the whole time, but not anywhere near what we would want. Yeah, it is continuing to improve. Mimicking the agent that cycle of marginal. Well, how do we set this up? How do we set this up differently? Like, the concept of generating, like, like, imitation learning as a concept works, right? If you have expert data, then you can imitation learn. It would seem that you should be able to bootstrap then, right? Like, if you just take your best trials and you pick the lucky ones or whatever, yeah, we'll do it this way. I mean, I guess technically you can't train on lucky. There are degeneracies here as well. Not sure if it work. Well, I mean, RL works somehow, right? Yes, that's what we were trying before. You can do that, there are just some issues. Actually, how did they do it in here? Did they update their value function? They didn't even update their value function at all here. Oh, I don't even know if they have a value function. They're just doing, like, reinforce. No, they do. Yeah, no, they do. Better at the task. I don't know if that quite does, because, like, RL is literally learning by trial and error at the start, right? It's trying to do credit assignment to rewards. Actually, RL is a very hard objective to learn. Behavioral cloning is a very easy objective to learn. I mean, we've literally seen it solve. So we've seen it solve 2 easy tasks, like, instantly. And we've seen it, like, do better than random on, like, everything. And we've also seen it... We've seen it do the first hard exploration bit of a very hard task way better than our state-of-the-art RL. Hmm. You know, oddly enough, this would probably pair really well with search. Right? Yeah, this would pair, like, really well with search. But let's see if we can get the base thing to work first. Yeah, I'll have this implemented. Just scale better. Well, but Breakout, like, the curves for Breakout, the thing is, Breakout and Pong have very similar curves, but Breakout just takes longer. If I have, like, a Breakout curve, they look like this. I mean, they look like the neural MMO curve, honestly. The Breakout curves, it's like, yeah, and then it and then it goes up really fast and solves. Same as Pong, same as a lot of tasks. Okay, let's try, like, a slightly dumber version of this, eh? I'll try a slightly dumber version of this. No. Okay. Trying to see if there was like data staleness issues. Game plan to weave this into Puffer and upper move method. The goal is to play around and see what works, right? How can I say that this will be the main training method when this is like random new research for an idea I just thought of, right? Okay, so this gets 22. If I don't drop the rewards, what do we get? 0.79 as well. Okay, so this ended up being... It was very slightly better to drop out some indices. Like, very slightly better. How jittery. Like, if you made this horizon equal to 1, you would only ever get data where you have the reward, right? The fact that you don't have the reward here is actually kind of bad, because you can't do any credit assignment at all. You do offline RL instead of behavioral cloning here? Is that the play? You even set that up. Much harder, isn't it? It would make more sense, though, because you have the reward function, I suppose, though it makes it harder if you want to actually add expert data in. I don't understand why it is the case that long and breakout are pretty substantially similar, right? Long and breakout are like really substantially using the same hypers on. Am I not using the same hypers on them? Oh, I'm not using the same hypers. Okay. Just a random little thing. It doesn't instantly solve our problem. Like it does fair bit worse, in fact. Okay. Okay, next question. These are separate tunes, right? Do this. Okay, that is a bit better. Still not like insta solving our task by any means. It still just has this property of being really slow, like it's not taking off at all. Get us to 27. Let's like the fact that more updates doesn't do anything is also weird to me. See, like, it's not like, it gets like sort of stuck. And we've seen that if we just run it for super long, we can get it unstuck. Slightly worse, though. What else we can do? You want more research jumps like squared all for local. Yeah, so actually that's the other project I have planned since I'm back from RLC, is if you look up B Suite, DeepMind paper, it's like a diagnostic env suite. We're going to do a much better version of that as a core project. It's not an easy project though, mind you, because like implementing the environments is going to be very easy, but actually coming up with good clear-cut environments that are properly motivated, like a minimal set that actually tests what you care about, is hard. Very, very hard. Down to help? Sure. If you go look at the B Suite paper, I'm warning you that this is like actually very hard research. Like this is a task that I would expect the vast majority of RL researchers to fail on. Because if you look at the B Suite tasks, they're like kind of motivated, but if you actually really think about it, like they actually don't do a good job of being like a minimal test suite, and they kind of just throw a bunch of buzzwords out like exploration and generalization without really, really clearly thinking about mechanistically what they're testing. I'd say that this has been pretty good progress overall, though, right? We see that the simplest instantiation of this algorithm can solve several different environments. We'll have to think about whether, like, I mean, it would be kind of insane if this just replaced all RL, right? I think that that would be kind of an insane thing to expect. The question is, like, does this combine nicely with RL? Does this benefit from data scale? Right? There are a lot of things that we'd want to test here. The fact, though, that this actually does something on Neural MMO3 is kind of insane. Like, I don't, to be clear, I don't think that if I just run it for longer on that, it will actually be better. But, like, the fact that it latches on to something that hard that quickly is very impressive. Do a quick lunar lander run. We don't have lunar lander in here. Did somebody PR it? I didn't think it was PR'd yet. Is it this? Inverts env? Oh, Kinvert has a bunch of nice little PRs. Hell? Yeah, there's no lunar lander, man. Somebody was working on it, I saw, but it hasn't been PR'd. I don't know if that was you or not. I'm gonna go do some thinking about this. I gotta go get dinner, folks. I will be back streaming tomorrow. But this is pretty cool to get, like, initial results day one of this. I'm gonna have to think very carefully, though, about how I go about this and such. Actually, just commit this before I forget. My end, I must be dreaming. There is the, like, the original lunar lander, which is unusably slow. There's somebody who is working on lunar lander in the Discord, but I don't think we've gotten a PR from them yet, so we kind of can't do anything with it just yet. Okay. Dropped a quick PR in the dev channel. Let me see. Linky, you caught me just in time as I was about to go. Is that 800k SPS? Wait, vision test works. I do need to ask if you'd prefer I include Raylib's camera as a file or as an actual project. Do you mean as an actual import? You can do either if you want to just, like, if you want to modify our Raylib download so it includes the camera, that's fine. Either one works. Wait, 800k SPS? I'm gonna have to see this. If you actually got the thing to render at 800k SPS, that was awesome. Last time we checked, like, it wasn't actually computing anything, right? I will be around tomorrow to look at that. You have that to look at. If... No, Linky, I don't think this is a reasonable thing to include. Using rays now? What does that mean, kitting? I don't think that this is a reasonable thing to include, Linky, because if you set it to auto, like, I think it tries to mimic the number of Ms or whatever. You definitely don't want it to be equal to just the number of cores regardless of how many Ms you have. That will just throw you a hard error if they're not divisible. Mimicking the camera by doing 64 rays and getting collisions on those. $800k SPS raycast renderer, huh? That's kind of funny. Yeah, that's really funny. So I guess for a basic scene, yeah, that works. That's super funny. That's actually a good test to have, to be honest with you. I'd be interested to see how it works on, like, my higher-end hardware. I'll take a look through the PRs tomorrow. Is that a satisfactory answer, though, Linky? For now? I want to head to dinner in a second. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna call it for the day, folks. Thank you for tuning in. If you're interested in this work generally, a few small things in case you didn't see it. This talk is on X at JSuarez5341, same as my Twitch handle, everything else. My full talk, the paper that won an award at RLC. Only a few minutes, like 7 minutes, 38 seconds, if you want to watch that. Discusses all the stuff in Puffer. Go ahead and take a look at that. If you're interested in my work more generally or you want to get involved, Puffer.ai. Star the repo. Really helps me out a ton. It's free. Just star it. You can jump in the Discord if you want to get involved with dev. Other than that, on X, we have resources. Of course, this is going to open a pop-up. But yeah, on X, we have resources for beginners and just lots of RL material in general. These guides in particular cover everything you need to know. So thank you, folks, and I will be back tomorrow.